Come on. Down 2.
You're listening to the Get Peeled podcast, a space for life enthusiasts to get inspired, learn through others about fitness, business, relationships, and life itself. I'm your host, Hannah Eden, a fitness entrepreneur that has an obsession with sweating and a burning desire to share and inspire others with the lessons that I have learned through fitness. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Get Peeled podcast. I am Hannah Eden, your host, and today I'm very excited to be sat down with the team that stands behind the durable athlete. I have Christian and I have Natalie. Now, we have a few things in common, and whenever I go into these conversations, I try and kind of introduce my audience to who you are. I think that restorative practices, preventative practices, and being very mindful with the way that you move is something that we all have in common. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to get to know you guys. You've recently branched off and are starting to create and build your own island, just launched an app, and now I want to get to know all of the stories behind it. They are a couple, if you didn't know this, which is amazing, but also comes with its challenges. Mm-hmm. I've worked with my husband since 2015. Awesome. I don't know how the fuck we made it over here, through a lot of trial and error, so I can't wait to talk about that. Yeah. But whenever we sit down, we try and touch on these three places, right? Which is your personal, your relationship, and your business, in any order which we decide. But maybe the first place to start would be personal, right? So it's always interesting when there's three of us, because it's usually a one-on-one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've done three ways before where I give the floor to one person, we talk all about business, personal relationships, and then the next. Mm-hmm. And I found over time that just having an open conversation where you don't cut anyone off, but anyone can chime in whenever they want would be awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you guys so that you can help us understand more about you as a person from a personal level. If I Google you, I can find out a whole bunch of stuff. Sure. But if I don't, who are you?
Who are we? Yeah, do you want to start? Ladies first? Okay, I'll go first. My name is Christian Placencia, originally from California. I feel like something that you probably won't find out about me unless you're kind of maybe like on our island or observant of our like pages is the importance of family and the importance of like sports and how sports has really like driven my passion for everything that I've kind of found and everything that we've like built together to this point, which is kind of like you've alluded to, the mindful movement practice and the recovery, the importance of recovery and having different movement modalities and breathing modalities that you can use to access those things. So those are things that I did not experience as an athlete. I know obviously Natalie will be able to tell her story, but she's an athlete as well. I think together we both realized that there was a lack of education behind really like our foundation of what the durable athlete is. So I'll kind of leave it there then.
Okay.
For you.
Yes, so my name is Natalie Higby. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and I met Christian here in Austin, Texas, 5-6 years ago or so at On It. And I would say that we did bond on our connection of family and of sports. We actually met like on the basketball court. Someone said that I played college basketball, and he was like, oh really? Yeah. So sports have been a big part of my life. I was the youngest of just two, so I had an older brother who I literally wanted to dress like and be like and just play with. So I feel like that made me really tough. But I also always like loved my dolls and loved kids, and I really had a passion from a young age to teach, and that's what I went to school for. So I went to school for education, and in college found CrossFit essentially and other certifications when it comes to personal training, and actually took that route. And then I've essentially changed directions within my career, going from coaching to teaching and then back into coaching. And I think I say that just to say at the core of what I've always wanted to do is help people and help them create a better life for themselves and understand that it's okay to deal with like failure and where to go from there, and just to be a lifelong learner, whether that's in school or outside, and when it comes to like our personal and professional life. So
yeah, I hear like longevity, right? You're trying to help people sustain a healthy lifestyle for an extended period of time. Exactly. Like the get fit in 30 days and get jacked, like I'm sure we can all do that, right? But like as a fitness professional, we'd be doing our clients a disservice if we are not informing them and preparing them and giving them the tools to do this forever, right? Oh man, that's cool. So let's rewind a little bit, put a pin in, you guys met it On It. So both of you were, what kind of coaches were you there?
Yeah, definitely. For me, I started off as really just like a day-to-day kind of like boot camp style class coach, right? So sometimes they would have kind of off-site workouts And so I would, travel over there and teach the classes there. Sometimes it would even be like at a local park, like at 6 a.m. in the morning. Those were fun times at Silver Park. And then eventually like that intern / like part-time role eventually grew into not only just teaching, the group classes at On It and then having like a private schedule, right, with like our private one-on-one clients. But then athletes would start to come in, and again, athletics and sports kind of being a big driver of where I'm at today. That then started to call to, okay, there's great strength and conditioning coaches. There's great coaches that can get athletes faster, quicker, all the above. And it looked like, there wasn't too many mobility / like recovery / like just overall, like how someone even just asked, like, how are you feeling? And are the things and the way you're moving on a daily basis feeding into like your overall longevity? So eventually that kind of turned into a like strength and like durability coach there. At On It, both myself and Natalie taught durability classes, which are ultimately like their recovery and like mobility classes. And so I had the opportunity to be able to just go on the education team with John Wolf, with Shane Hines, with Sam Pogue, with Sarah Jameson, and a lot of other great coaches. And we were able to kind of like spread that information out to coaches, doctors, therapists, the average Joe who's maybe not even in the real fitness like training field as like a profession. So yeah, I guess that grew from just, again, personal coaching right into like the strength and the durability aspect.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll add to that. Both of us got fascial stretch therapy certified as well.
Cool.
And so we were a couple of the coaches there that could offer that as like another recovery modality. When I first went to On It, I was actually just a client. I was teaching third grade at the time, and that's where I met Christian. And I had such a love for health and fitness that I spent all of my time still wanting to learn about it. And I was going through the precision nutrition course and took all of the On It courses. And they actually approached me because they didn't have a female coach. And they knew that I had that background and just how much time I spent there and loved it. They were like, I actually think this would be a good fit for you, because I was a big part of the community already. And that's when the idea of coming back to coaching really came to me. Like, I wasn't looking to leave teaching necessarily, but I was putting so much of my free time into the education of health and wellness that I was like, I'll give this a shot. Let me just do it for the summer. Yeah. And I essentially was like, let me kind of like intern for a little bit and then report back to my principal whether I was coming back the following year. And I just loved it immediately. And so I was doing just general population group classes. I was one of the durability coaches, so eventually got into teaching a few of those a week and being a part of the durability team, and then a lot of personal training and fascial stretch therapy. Cool. And then I led a women's group, which they hadn't really had. Juan was a big part of that as well. And then Krista was another coach there at the time, and that was like the first time they really had like a women's focused group where it was 3 times a week, about 75 minutes, the same women in a group.
Awesome.
And yeah, that
safe
was
space.
Safe space. Yeah.
I like that.
Trying to get more women into the gym.
Yeah.
I think if you've ever seen On It on social media, it can seem a little intimidating. So we were really trying to branch out there and just bring more women into the gym and create that safe space. So
now, from personal experience, right? I think that if you're able to shine in a space, it's usually from personal experience, right? And it's always like sexy to do the hard shit, right? Yeah. People always overlook recovery. People always overlook maintenance, right? They don't take care of their bodies at all until there's a problem that occurs where it's like, that shouldn't always be the answer, right?
Yeah.
Did something happen to either one of you personally where you were injured or something held you back from fulfilling your truest potential as an athlete? Where does that come from that now this is your life work to help spread and share this experience that you may have had or talent with the rest of the world?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think us both being athletes, and Christian can speak to this, but I've had plenty of injuries in the past, not anything crazy, but sprained ankles, broken wrists, little things here and there. And what I was doing fitness-wise before I found On It and durability and more mobility practices, like my knees constantly hurt. I had ran a half marathon and then, went to the doctor. Oh, you have arthritis. My wrist would hurt. When I started using the clubs and steel maces, I couldn't really use them. So I experienced some movement limitations, but I never really looked at them like that until I was introduced to all of the durability, mobility. And I was never a flexible kid. People would make fun of me for not being able to touch my toes forever. And I just started to realize that why can I deadlift 300 plus pounds, but I can't get into this mountain climber position and do this body weight movement? Why can't I control my body weight like I should be able to as an athlete? So for me, I love learning, and it was all of these things I had never tried before and I wasn't good at, and I wanted to learn more. So, and then it just changed my life.
Yeah.
Less pain, moved better, better control of my body. I just started to experience all of the positive benefits, and I can't. Really
and all of that sexy stuff that I was referring to probably improved too, right?
Yes, everything else improved, but I had to give it time, because at first I didn't want to just go to a durability class on Wednesday. I wanted to go to the group class or work out hard, right? But once I started to also realize that I actually felt better, had more energy, maybe body composition got better, all of those things came with more rest, I was hooked.
Yeah. I would say, really for me, like the biggest or the most fondest memory that I have was, I remember meeting John Wolf. So we're both from Salinas, California.
Oh, what are the odds of that?
Hometown. It's crazy.
Is it a big town?
No, not at all.
That's even crazier.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Wow.
So he moved out here probably like a couple years, or maybe like a year and a half before I eventually moved out here, right? And I remember being at his gym in Salinas with my mom, because my mom, crazy, had been training with him for like a long time. So that's how the friendship even started. Yeah, super random.
I go way back.
Yeah.
Super random. And he had me over for a class at his gym, and I remember at the time, like, I was squatting, relatively heavy. I was doing the power cleaning, doing the typical kind of power lifting type of, like, Olympic lifting type of cycle. And I just remember feeling like, at least at that point, being like 22 years old, like being, if maybe not the best shape of my life, maybe feeling like it, like feeling the strongest. And he had me do such a simple, like, body weight workout that, of course, I'd never been exposed to, like, the ground-based animal flow, like, move your body through end range of motion style of training. And I got my butt beat so bad to the point where, like, again, being, like, coming from a athlete perspective, like, competition, like, I want to feel like I win all the time. I did not win that workout whatsoever. So far from it. And so again, for me, like, I think that's when my dogma and my, like, mindset around, like, fitness and, like, what my training could look like and consist of, that's when everything kind of shifted. And again, having an athlete kind of, like, background, for me, I was like, wait, if I'm benefiting from this, because I'm still playing, 3 to 4 times a week, nothing professionally, but just out of fun, and my game and how I feel on the court is improving, then I gotta feel like 99.9% of people would probably feel the same thing if they were in my shoes. So that's kind of, I guess, what, like, pushed me down that route of, okay, people could really utilize this
benefit from that.
Yeah.
But it's also tough to be able to educate that, right? Because to me, the hardest form of exercise is body weight. I would say running, right? Because you're so exposed. And get on the floor, that's a whole different game, right? You're adding resistance to just your body weight. Like, you can't hide behind equipment. You can't hide behind momentum that you generate. You are so exposed, and it's this, in running, the same fucking thing over and over and over and over and over again. It's like, so mind-bogglingly boring, but you have to fall in love with it with other ways. So to try and educate all of our audience, that they're like, oh, it's a body weight workout today. It's like, try me. Body weight workouts are the hardest workouts that there are, because there's nothing to hide behind. So to be able to continue to educate the people that want to do the sexy shit is a challenge. And I admire that you guys are doing it, because it's something that's overlooked, and it's something that could help only the most elite athletes. And it's crazy what you just said about the fact that you couldn't touch your toes, but you could deadlift 300 pounds. That's so common in the elite world now. It's like, whoa, how does that happen? So we talked about kind of how you guys met, how you got into fitness, but I'm a very deep person. I like to get the shovel out, right? We're going to go here now. To pursue a career in fitness is not glamorous, right? It's hard fucking work. And before you owned your own business, which is where we all got into this, right? Like, you really don't make that much money, right? And it's obvious that money isn't a driver, that you guys are hard workers. How were you able to create this passion for fitness into a business? What was the turning point that you were like, rather than building someone else's island, I'm going to build my own?
You want me to go first?
Yes. I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My first thought that comes to mind before I get to your question, which I might have you repeat it, but is...
Oh shit, I hope I remember it.
Well, but I just want to say that I don't know why, but I've always just gone after the thing that I think is helping people. Like in teaching, you don't make a lot of money and you work crazy amount of hours and people think you get summers off, but you're working. And then going back into fitness, I was like, well, I'm going to continue to work all day long and not make a lot of money, but something about doing something I'm passionate about, I think we can both agree that that's what drives us most is we have to love what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
And we love what we're doing. And so we're thankful that that has turned into a career and that we have the opportunity.
I just want to highlight that because so many people that follow or request for information or want answers are like, how can I become an Instagram influencer? It's like, ugh, that makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Like that wasn't the goal here at all. It's so far from the goal. It's now just a piece of the business that is a tool that has to be maintained. The goal was never that. And people that are going after that, you're in it for the wrong reasons, man. Like you got to be willing to do this for free and like be on a whole different level. You know?
Just 100%. Grind. Like it's a lot of work. And I'm sure you know this. It's not overnight. You probably worked for years for free, right? And it's like your whole life kind of leads up to a certain point. It doesn't happen overnight. Maybe for some people that's rare, but I think it comes from
in the instance that it does happen overnight, it's not sustain. I don't think that they sustain it. You know, like I think a lot of things are possible. But I'm looking, just like you guys are for educating your clients, like I'm looking to be doing what I do, what I'm building my career to be now. I hope that it is a forever thing, right? So the people that are able to make it happen overnight, the passion may not be there. So you're going to want to do this in 10 years from now? Are you going to be willing to do this if there's no Instagram around and no one's looking? Like it's for very different reasons. So kudos to both of you for making that happen. And it's obvious in the work that you do.
Thank you.
So I don't remember my question.
That's okay. Well, I think I kind of remember it, but essentially, why did we want to do it on our own?
How did you make that transition?
I do think there is a piece of working so hard for so long and knowing that maybe it's kind of for someone else. It's not that it's bad that it's for someone else, but I think at some point we wanted the freedom to also work with certain people that we wanted to work with and create our own schedule a little bit more. And maybe we had requests from other people who wanted to work with us, but we couldn't because we were at this place, and nothing wrong with that. That got us to that place. But I think it just got to the point where we were looking for that creativity and freedom to kind of spread our wings and try different things and just continue helping people and doing what we were doing, but just go out on our own. I don't know.
And I hope that from your experience, you know, and I mentioned this, we had a little chat before we began, which is also cool that this is a very raw conversation because we've never met each other in real life. We really don't know each other at all. So this is me getting to know them and you guys get to listen to our conversation. But when I began, I started in a different gym, right? And you eat, breathe, shit, and live this other person's business, and you're building it and you're building it. And I had a horrible situation. It wasn't great. You guys are in great terms with on it. You guys have never had a situation that comes between you, but I did. It was like, I think rather than seeing me as an asset, it saw it as a threat, you know? And so I was burned and it hurt. So my motivating reasons to start on my own were for the wrong reasons. And I want to share that because now it's an ultimate goal to elevate my team. If someone can work under me and learn and then have enough confidence and knowledge to go span out on themselves, on their own and create their own island now, I want it because I got burned. It's my lifelong dream to elevate and support that person. You know, there's enough people in the world for all of us, and there's enough people that need us. So when you guys build your business to the point that you have multiple coaches under you with Durable Athlete, I think that that's something that you should really focus on too, because it's so rewarding. And not that on it didn't support you, but elevating other people only makes you better too, right?
I also think it's the people you have working under you. It's kind of like, are you getting people who just want to stay at the same spot, which maybe there's nothing wrong with that and there's some security there, or are you getting people who are so driven that maybe they just get to the point that they want to continue to grow and learn, and that's what it blossoms into. And I think that's kind of how we felt, was like we wanted to really push ourselves even beyond what we had been doing.
To that point, right, I remember the feeling. I remember the conversation in our home of like saying it out loud. I'm sure you guys both thought about it independently, and then there was a moment where you're like, should we fucking do this? Like, tell me about that, like how that went.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. So just like full transparency. So I was at On It, working there as like a full-time salary coach. So was Natalie, and this is like 2019. And we started, you know, the Durable Athlete on paper, right? Like LLC. And of course, like we had been trying to be consistent on social media and like posting there to somewhat like let that be a piece of like building our community, building the culture. And so it got to the point, kind of like what you said and what Natalie's been saying, is like we had so much energy and passion that like we were putting our deposits in for so long on a daily basis to like want to keep pushing the line of like what we can do. Because I think, to kind of like not get too off track, is I don't know if we had the goal to be like where we're at today specifically. I think it was just like we understand our process and what's going to get us from this point to like a better place and where we think we want to go in the short term. So let's just do everything we can to get to that space. And there's probably going to be like 5 or 10 different opportunities that come up that we had no thought of because we just weren't at point B yet.
Right.
We weren't at that place in our life and in our career. And so, yeah, to kind of bring it back to like on it was pushing the line for so long. For me personally, like I knew I wanted to train basketball players. I wanted to be like all in on that. And I wanted to be like the guy, at least if not everywhere, at least in Austin, Texas. And it was just tough to do that because obviously, you know, we have like general fitness classes and the private training stuff that we have to keep up with. And that's understood. That's our role, right? Being a salary
And there's
guy.
only so many hours in a day.
There's only so many. And so I think it was like a constant like, when am I going to do this? She obviously was hearing every single, you know, one of these conversations. And, you know, for me, like a couple NBA guys came in and that was like the big, okay, dude, this is probably like, just go all in here. And then in a couple months when that time is come up where they're supposed to leave, just reassess and see what's going on at that point. And again, that was like at that 2-month time was like, okay, this is like the sign, like I'm going to jump net, like I'm going to leave for a little while.
It's giving me chills.
Well, you got the opportunity to. When I first met him too, this was like first couple dates. I'm like, okay, like what do you really, not like what do you really want to do, but kind of like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to work for the Lakers. And I was like, yeah, you and probably a million other strength coaches, right? Or personal trainers. And then the more I got to know him, I'm like, oh no, he actually really wants to work for the Lakers, or someone with basketball like that was like his big dream was to work with basketball players.
And I want to put that pin in case people don't know what I'm talking about, and I hope I don't mess up the name, but I did some research on you, hope you don't mind, before you came in, and that you are one of the head coaches at, is it the Pro Austin Academy?
Austin Pro Academy.
Austin Pro Academy.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Like, was that the opportunity?
So at that time when I jumped, no, like I had absolutely no clue that that was a potential. That was something that I wanted to start, and I knew I couldn't do it alone, but I knew I wanted to. So I think Natalie remembers this, like maybe a couple weeks before me like formally leaving, I just reached out to probably like 10 or 15 different organizations I could find in Austin that had to do anything with like skill training in basketball.
Amazing.
And I was like, cool, like they probably don't have a strength and conditioning coach. Even if one person responds, I'll get it to happen. And I think like 3 or 4 people actually responded, but one of them was super quick to be like, yeah, like let's sit down and let's talk. And I just knew right off the bat, I had the first conversation with him, I had coffee with him, and then I went back home and talked to Natalie and was like, yeah, I think there's something here.
You can feel it.
The funny part is like, he wasn't like a celebrity basketball, like it wasn't like that. He was very much like homegrown, like from Austin, played basketball himself, like coached professionally. And I was like, this guy's got good integrity, good in character. Again, not knowing what was coming next. I just know if I'm with you, we're going to continue to like rise.
And this makes me get so off track, but I don't know you guys. And I can tell just from like that conversation alone, like good people will succeed, right? Like even if you don't know where you're going, if you're a good person that has integrity and isn't doing it because they want rock star, Instagram, celebrity, blah, 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 blah. No, you want to learn, right? And you want to learn from the best, and you're obsessed, clearly obsessed with this space. So
I think
take note of that.
Gotten some pushback at times of people saying essentially what we do is not sexy, you know? And I think we just have always, to that point, been like, we're just going to keep doing us and stay true to who we are and come at it from a place of wanting literally to educate and help people. And that's all we can
And
try to do.
I will say to that point, I think whenever you try and form yourself to please others, like this is from an influencer, which I hate that word, but that word, right?
It's
Point of view.
Yeah.
So many people are trying to bend themselves to be liked. Like people read through that shit, which is why it may not work out for you, you know, unless you're just so outrageous that you just can't help but look, right? But the people that are decent people that take me for who I am, there's probably going to be a lot about me that you don't like, but that's cool. I wasn't trying to do this to please you anyway, you know? I mean, you stay true to the passion, I call it an obsession. Like my passion is an obsession. Like it's maybe unhealthy at times, but I'm obsessed with it. And they don't know this, but I overheard a conversation with you on the phone yesterday, and I think you guys are going to have an incredible future just based on the stuff that you're saying, but you don't stop at trying once you've gotten there, right? Like you get to a certain place and then it's like, okay, what else can I do? Or you get here and it's like, what else can I do? And this is a conversation that comes up a lot. People think that there's a finish line, and once you get there, that's it, man. You've reached it. No. The most successful people are only that successful because they never, ever stop. So I do want to throw that out there for the fact that you left this space that is credible, right?
Yeah.
You go out, you're applying to 10 different places that don't need to be sexy. You feel so passionate about what you're doing that people have said to you, that's not sexy, but it doesn't matter because it's true and it's real and it's raw and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's been like a big piece of feedback that we have continued to get even since like we've been working on it was people can feel like the genuine and the authentic energy that we have. And yeah, I mean the goal was never to be like an influencer. The goal was to never want to have a lot of followers on Instagram. Really the goal wasn't even to want to have like I guess my own basketball or have a basketball academy or train like the best of the best. It was really just like what Natalie said, like having a very genuine sense of like I learned all this information, this stuff helped me, I have to like somehow some way like get this out to people, like who wants to listen, like you know, who wants to come and be like a part of our little community. And so yeah, that's really kind of like where everything stems from, I guess, you know?
And I think I cut you off when you were talking about the Austin Pro Academy. Did I get that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is that? Tell me about that and how that all stems to where you're at. And then I have some stuff about breath work that I really want to talk to you about.
Yeah. So basically my partner Zach had been training a lot of kids for maybe like the last 7 years.
Cool.
Just like me in the beginning for a couple of years, like not for money, just simply for free. And then he like slowly kind of built that into like a side business because he kind of had like another job going on at the same time. And then like myself and Natalie, like we jumped, you know, we took that jump. He jumped kind of around the same time. And it was like, all right, I remember that conversation. He was like, all right, dude, this is like full time. I got a baby. I got another one coming. Right. So like, we got to get it. You know what I mean? And so for him, you know, it was as simple as, okay, I got all these contacts, all these people I've trained. You got the same. Let's create something where they can get an hour with you and then an hour with me. And we'll do our best to basically make this like the most high performing, training program that we can. The culture's got to be this. These are the type of guys we want in here. It's going to be an invite only so that we can really protect it. And then, I mean, first year was during COVID. Wow. So that was last year.
I love hearing
which is so fast and crazy for them. It's been great.
It's so wild. Like it was only elite level high school players and pro and college. And, we've grown from maybe like 50 to 60 people to like now I believe we serve over like 130, 140. Wow, that's just been like in 2 years. And
there's some more teams like
what I mean? It just because like you said, like it's cool. We're both like, this is awesome. Let's like make sure we got all our ducks in a row. We got a coaching staff. Kids like the coaching staff. Coaches feel like comfortable. They can handle what we got. Let's go get more now. Yeah. And let's go to this now. And let's go to this now. So yeah, I can't help but be like overly passionate about talking about
And then I have a question. Does durable athlete have to do with what you do as well? So they all go all together?
I kind of wanted to speak to this because I'm thinking about, I don't know if everyone understands exactly how we also work together.
Yeah,
I would say durable athlete is like the umbrella under which we work together in our business. We have an app. A lot of people were sending us messages or coming to us with shoulder pain, low back pain, injuries. What do they do from there? And we really just wanted a place where we could be like, we have all these videos and we have these routines and
visual,
we can, we'll kind of help you along the way. I think Christian brings a stronger background when it comes to the mobility side of things because he was on the durability staff at On It and just his experience with the body, the human body. Whereas my teaching background, there was so much on mindfulness and there was a lot on breath work with kids. And I really had a passion I got into sleep early on. I don't know, I just love studying about the positive effects of quality sleep. And I think when we came together, all of these conversations came up so often and then they all merged. And it was like, if we're going to build durable athlete, we have to have these pillars of health and it can't just be mobility. Like it needs to be movement, breath, sleep, and nutrition. And so I feel like we've helped each other on different ends of like strengths and weaknesses, you know what I mean?
But everything is such a complement to one another. And really, if you want to be a successful athlete, you really shouldn't skip one of those. They're all equally as important as each other.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you said it well earlier. You were on the phone with someone.
Yeah, basically like everyone, even though it's called durable athlete and, myself and Natalie have both had the opportunity to work with athletes, we consider everyone an athlete, right? That's like sometimes like the first thing we say right after durable athlete because, athletes are usually like 1% of the world, right? So more people are not going to be in that elite level. But from a human perspective, like, we are humans first, right? Like, regardless if you're the best NBA player in the world, your human body is still designed to move like me and like you and like her. So, you know, if we can understand on a principle basis, like, okay, what are like the common foundational things that we can do with almost everybody and feel like there's going to be a direct return on investment, like sleep, like breath work, like mobility, then
Proper
like
nutrition.
Yeah, proper nutrition. Like, those are things that we can safely say, and no one's gonna come after us and try to, you know, put us in the
Right,
from whatever.
which I think is interesting because over the recent years that has now become a focus for people. But rewind 5 years ago, what was breath like? What was your nutrition was like, fuck it, I eat pizza but I look like this, you know, like now it's like, no, we're trying to chase a feeling now, right? Not just an aesthetic. An aesthetic has been around and it will be around forever. But we're trying to chase a feeling of being less stressed. This whole anxiety deal that has now always existed but has been so elevated in the last few years, I think primarily to do with the internet and social media. But there is such an importance in your mental health, and it used to be such a stigma that is not talked about. But all of the athletes that I think ever succeeded, like I'm obsessed with Tim Grover.
Yep.
Okay, so Relentless, right?
I would love that book.
Great book. It's what got me around Iceland.
Yep.
So it's another story. Fucking sad. But are you a cleaner or a closer, man?
I feel like I'm a closer.
You do?
I don't know.
What do you think? You're a cleaner or a closer?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could.
So for those of you that are not listening, a cleaner is going to be someone that Michael Jordan is a cleaner. All right, he doesn't just show up to close the game. The day that he wins the championships, that night while all his boys and the rest of the team are at the bar, he's in the gym trying to fix on the one shot that he fucked up. A closer is someone that skips a couple practices, has a hangover, and then all of a sudden shows up at the end and like wants to celebrate the win. But like, man, where were you in the process?
So full transparency, I haven't read the book yet. She's told me like a million times. I haven't done it yet.
You have to, man.
I thought those.
The opposite. I was like, there's no way you're a closer if you have your own business. You're definitely a cleaner.
I would say cleaner. I think I am very competitive, but sometimes I'm like, oh, everyone should win. Like so that's my only hesitation there of like, but yeah, I think just in the way we carry ourselves and what we do on a daily basis.
I think from my perspective, for hers, you know, she might not realize it because it's so subconscious, but I would definitely say she's a cleaner.
I can tell just from the conversation that both of you guys are cleaners.
Yeah.
From the fact that I overheard a business call, which I don't know if you're okay with that, but I was in the office yesterday. You're a cleaner, man. Like, if you're a closer, you wouldn't be on the phone with that company.
Yeah,
if you launch your app, you walk away.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, how can you better every situation that's in front of you? You're never the best. Even if you are the best, you're still not the best. And that's something that I am obsessed with, right? It's like, don't be the guy that wants to just get all like the hype, man, because you're on the team. Like, be the guy that helps when no one's looking. That's integrity to me, right? It's like, we can all show up when there's a camera there, but like, are you going to get your work in or say what you're going to do when no one's around?
Right.
That's the ultimate strength to me, right? Which takes a lot of discipline to put in, because at the beginning, I mean, I did all this because I wanted to get attention, and it's like, hang on, that shit, I was over it in a few months. But when you start to look inward and go, no, like, how fucking dare I think that I have the right to sit here and tell people what they should do, how they should do it, if I'm not willing to do it myself at any point in the game, you know, even when you're at your best.
I think I've always been in leadership positions too, or voted into them. So I think to his point, sometimes I may not even recognize it as much, but yeah, I think that's just the way we work.
And maybe it's a good thing. You know, maybe it's a good thing, because if you did, then maybe you wouldn't operate on the level.
I feel like we have to think we have to get better. I don't know. There's that level too, but that comes with it. So.
That's the cleaner, man. You don't even know it. We got cleaners in the house. I like it a lot. But I forgot where that was going, but I think it was to do with like the fact that you guys don't stop. You've already achieved a lot. You've already done a lot. You already feel a lot, but it's like, we haven't even begun. We're just getting started. Now, we talked about the skill set, and you were saying that he has more of a strength of mobility, the breath work, the nutrition, the mindfulness. Let's talk.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of what I've brought to our business and what I've brought to my clients is things that I have implemented in my life that have positively impacted me, and things that when I get interested in and I see the positive impact, I want to learn more about. And so one of those things, for example, is breath work. And I don't know if you remember when like Headspace first came out, or even maybe prior to that, but I got very into it and just noticed the positive effects. So when I was coaching and then teaching, like that's something I would do with my clients and with my kids. And I think that's just something that we began to practice ourselves. And again, once you start to notice the positive effects of it and also understand how positive it is for other people to do it, especially in a world where there's so much anxiety and depression, we'd be doing a disservice if we weren't sharing that, right? And so I think that's where like our breathwork comes from. And then I know you've personally been able to work with like Wim Hof and other breathwork teachers. You have that opportunity, which is super cool. And so I think it just comes from our personal experience there. And I think we bring different views of that and how it's benefited us. Art of Breath is another good like certification we've done, and different books that we've read where we've just learned. I feel like we just come from a place of we learn about something, we apply it, and then we just want to share that.
Or like, what's next? What else can I learn? What else can I share? And that's admirable, because it's hard work, especially when you own your own business. You could just stop right there, right? But like becoming better at your craft when you've already like found yourself is a challenge. And I admire that you guys are still in that headspace where you're like, I'm not done yet. I still want to learn. I want to be the sponge so I can absorb everything and then share. But that's a big difference between you guys and a lot of others, right? Because from the outside in, I call it an imposter. Like that's the biggest fear, right? It's like being an imposter is a scary place to be. If you'll never feel like an imposter if you know your shit. You know, it's like a level of confidence that it gives you to continue executing what you're doing.
Totally. I think another thing that we had in common when we met that I liked was I was already like waking up early to read, and these things that, you know, waking up early to do mobility or go for walks. Again, things that we found benefit in our life for. And with my clients now, a lot of them feel like they don't have any time to themselves. And I can remember, I feel like now I have a little more time to myself, but again, there were times where we'd be somewhere by 6 a.m. So I'm waking up at 5 just so I could like read for 10 minutes and journal for a few minutes and do a couple stretches. Like that was the only time I was going to get that day that I could work on myself. And I don't know why I did it. It's just who we are, I guess. But
you're a natural philosopher. You don't even know it.
Maybe, but I don't know. We've kept that habit. And so now, then you're reading a book. Then I was reading all about nutrition all the time. And he was the one who was actually like, why don't you just do certifications on that? You're literally spending all of your time reading about nutrition and studying it. Like, get a certification. So if you want to use it, you can. And I think it's just the drive to learn for both of us that has also helped us. It's like, it's just a habit we have. I don't know.
Right.
We like to wake up and read, or
I love that.
Go to a cert of some sort. And it's not just about reading it or going, it's about then trying to apply it. And really sitting with those things.
So now let's talk about relationships, right? Yeah. This is where things get interesting. So working with your spouse or with your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you want to call it, is a challenge, man, because I think ultimately you both had a love for fitness before you met, right? Then you found a newfound combined love together for fitness. But then to make a passion into a career, if you're not careful, that can quickly turn into a job, right? And then the sparks in the belly, all that weird feeling that you used to get kind of disappears. And along with that comes hard work, which means there's only so much time in a day. This is our business, so we have to push and work. I did this with Paolo, we talk about it all the time, for years. And then you stop and go, wait, where are we going? Wait, are you cool? Are we cool? Like, what's going on here? Yeah. So checking in, and this is what you guys were saying when we were in the kitchen earlier, like checking in with each other and understanding, like, what does rest look like for you? Or our way of doing it is like, what is a rich life for you, right? That doesn't have to do with a dollar, right? What is the dream for you? Is it like being able to, someone said this on a podcast, and I wish I could remember, I think it was a Tim Ferriss podcast, like, what is that for you? Does that mean that you never have to check your bank account again? Is a rich life for you being able to go grocery shop at Whole Foods and not have to like count how much you're spending? Is a rich life for you being able to turn off all of your devices and not even think about it? It doesn't have to do. Or is a rich life for you sitting on the couch knowing that you don't have to worry about making rent this month? Like you can apply that in so many different ways. And I didn't check in with myself. I didn't check in with my husband. And then you get to a point where it's like, you're wearing, it wears, it like erodes, right? The passion starts to disappear, and it's like, well, what the fuck are we doing this for then? Then you retract, zoom out again, find it, and that happened maybe in the first 3 years of us doing this. 2018 was like, listen, if we want to be doing this, we have to understand why we're doing it, what is the common goal together, and let's maintain our independency within this combined efforts. So as a couple, how do you guys manage? Do you have rules that there's no phone after this time, that you have this much time to set boundaries for time together, date night? Like, share something with the people that are listening that could take valuable nuggets away with them that they can implement to their relationship.
Yeah, sure, I can start. I think a big piece is definitely just kind of understanding, Natalie's read this book, I haven't, but I'm aware of the different levels of communicating and trying to show your love. I think
Five love languages? What up?
I love that book.
Yeah.
So Gary Chapman, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that you read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a huge piece, and at least for me personally, being able to understand, like, how can I show my affection and how can I show her that I am thinking of her, that I'm caring about her, and that you're still amongst all this other stuff that we have going on in our business and in our professional life, like, we are still here and we're still connected. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I was perfect in that. And, I think that it's just like anything else, like, you're only as good as yesterday. So it's just like having to show up. I could show up for like 5 days, but I got to show up just like
you got to set a reminder, man, to show up on that day.
Show up.
So, in case no one understands what we're talking about, I'll give my 2 cents and you guys can add yours.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you on the spot if you've never read it, but the whole idea behind the 5 love languages is that this author had been a marital counselor for many, many years, and he would often see common themes that would arrive, which was the way that people receive love and the way that people give love. And he came up with 5 different ones, right? Let's see if I remember this. The acts of kindness, wait 1 second, physical touch, gifts, quality time, and why am I missing?
Verbal
Words
something?
of
Words of affirmation. Okay, so the whole idea was like they're all different languages. If you don't know what language your partner speaks, you might think that you're telling them that you love them because you're showing them love the way that you feel it, but they have no fucking clue what you're saying. You could be speaking a different language. You could still want to communicate, but if you can't understand the language, then you're not going to feel or understand what's going on. So this is key. It says that we've all got a love tank, right? And that you're only willing to give love if you feel loved. So it's like a lot of couples will get to the point where a husband, his love language might be sex, and the woman's love language might be acts of service. Well, she ain't gonna put out if you haven't taken the fucking laundry or the trash out. You know what I mean? Like, it goes hand in hand. So understanding who you're with is so important to be able to make sure that your relationship is being fulfilled on both sides.
100%. Yes.
So now we've understood what the 5 love languages are. What are yours?
They shift a little bit. I would say, at least last time I took the test or really thought about it, words of affirmation is always a big one for me, in the sense of I've always done handwritten notes. I think if someone takes the time to write you something, it just shows that they actually took the time to write you something. So that's one. And then I would say quality time. I'm a big one on I like to spend time with my person. I also like to do things on my own, but I feel like if we can share.
Which I'm sure that goes to the point that you were just making, right? It's like, as a relationship, how do you separate? Because quality time can be quality time for the business, right? But quality time, as Natalie and Christian, is a very different thing. So is that why you guys are able to create boundaries and stuff? I think that's where we're going with that, right?
Yeah.
I always feel great after we take vacations together. And we don't really travel often, but his family's in California, so when I say vacation, I mean a weekend trip sometimes just to go see his family. But when we do that, I feel like we travel really well together, and maybe it's just getting out of our bubble of business. I feel like we always are closer, or we were recently able to take a little trip this year. And I just feel like we're able to connect on a different level. So
less distractions, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we try at least, and I feel like we do a pretty good job of, to a certain extent, not having clients or not having business past a certain time in the evening, and kind of keeping that 6:30 p.m. kind of on as our time, right? And obviously we're not.
It's tough when you enter business though, because I feel like we do always feel like you need to be answering things.
But the cool thing is,
we try. We do.
But I think it's cool because we're both in it, so we can both feel I got this text at 7 o'clock from this dude, or from this, from one of my clients that really needs something right now. And you're kind of you get it because you really care. So you're going to put that text out. But then there's obviously the understanding that we have to give ourselves that space too. It's a toggle. It's never perfect. It's never black and white. It's always a little gray. I don't know if you realize this, but last night, after being at, in Vegas doing a business trip, and knowing that we need to spend a little bit more time, or at least myself and her wanting to, I put my phone in, on the charger in the room at 7:30, which is usually, we go to bed maybe around 9 or 9:30. And that was just knowing for a fact that okay, it's time.
And I'm sure that was received, you're seeing him take this act, right? And physically put this, it's he's showing you that he wants to be here with you and no one else, right? And that's big move. Big
I also
shift.
think that now that we own a house together and the business, then that's where like acts of service start to, again, sometimes your love language can change in a sense because maybe there's different needs.
I feel like I'm trilingual sometimes, you know?
Right, there's different, there's different things I need, and I feel like acts of service is actually a really big one now in our life because we're both trying to do so much with the business, and I think I naturally feel like I need to do more for the home, but I feel like Christian's good about helping me there, but it's a lot comes down to communication, and we've gotten better at just communicating when like, hey, I really need help with this, or maybe it's something that he normally does, like he did this other day, and he's like, I just really need help with that now, you know, if you have the time. And I think it's just having to talk about like, what is your schedule like this week, and here's what we have going on, and you just have to communicate, because we have our own businesses. I do nutrition and lifestyle coaching, and he has his basketball program, and then we have our Durable Athlete app, and it's like we have stuff together and we have things separately, so it just takes constant communication of like, how much do you have on your plate? What can I help with? My schedule's a little more free now. What can I help with? Or it's getting crazy. Can you help me? Like being able to ask for help.
I love Brene Brown's analogy that she does
also
with
a favorite
her.
book.
Amazing, right?
Doing greatly.
Oh yeah, great book. But she goes into her household because they've had the pre-conversation and they've already understood like it's not personal. When you have a shitty day, right? Maybe you're together, but even if you have a shitty day and you're together, you come home, it's like, if the other person doesn't understand what you've just been through, they might receive your energy as like, what the fuck? Like personal.
Yeah.
They had a conversation and agreement in their marriage, which was like, when we get home, let me know where you're at. So they get in the door, I got 30 today, which means I have fucking nothing. Out of 100, I got nothing. And then rather than the husband like, well, she's not pulling away. It's like, don't worry, hon, I got it. I got 70, so let's go. It's like that understanding of being aware of what each other has to handle on a day-to-day basis is so important to have more understanding and empathize, right? Rather than judge it or allow your ego to just fucking scream and take it personally. It's not personal. She's not being mean to you. He's not being mean to you. They just had a day, man, and have an understanding and sympathize with that as well, right?
I like that. I mean, I feel like it's just like, to pull it back to sports and teams, I mean, it's just all about communication, right? Like you can have a game plan, but there's always going to be like a pivot. There's always going to be things that like are never just gold standards. Right? It's a gray area. And I feel like communication is something that I've at least learned throughout this relationship that I think is something that has helped me not just in our, personal life, but professionally as well.
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh yeah. Communication is huge.
It is huge, and it's something that I've struggled with forever. Have you always been a good communicator?
I think so. Or maybe, I mean, I can think back to when I first read Daring Greatly. That was what first really opened me up to like being vulnerable and communication. And then, that's what I'm saying, I've just always loved psychology and then communicate, like the 5 love languages. Like any way I can better understand a human being, I don't know, or myself in a human being, I think is good. I'm a big fan of like therapy for everyone, even if you're not going through something bad, because you better understand yourself and then you have better tools for the world. So I'm just such a big proponent of like, I don't know, like, learn how to understand what you're going through and then also have empathy for someone else and then how to communicate that. Like, I don't know.
And I think
I've always been drawn to it.
That's a key, right? It's like, you might look at Natalie not knowing all that and being like, oh gosh, she's just a really good communicator. Or people might like being like, oh, she's so good at communicating. No way. Like, I used to think that therapy made you weak. Therapy meant that you have problems, and I have problems, and that's why I said that shit, That's why I'm like, oh no, I don't need that. I've got it all handled on my own. And at first it was like, I would say that outside and then go home and like read every fucking book that I could to try and get what a therapy session would give me, because I'm like, I need help. And then it comes to the point where it's like, no, therapy is healthy, man. Life is fucking hard, and it's relative. Everyone's life is hard in other ways, right? And it's not ever fair to try and compare that, but a therapist isn't there because you necessarily have problems. If you do, that can help too, but a therapist is there to help you understand your own thoughts. They're not going to give you a solution. They're going to listen and like drop nuggets that are going to help you figure out your own problems, You
almost realize them yourself, is my experience, and then just have better tools for when something pops up. So it could even be, if you're just working really hard all the time and maybe it's not even a problem, but you're talking to someone about that and you're like, oh, maybe I should like have a little more time to myself, and you create 1 hour during the week that you do something for yourself, and that could be life-changing, who knows. But I definitely think that learning to communicate is a very positive thing, and being open to talking to someone or communicating with a loved one, like there needs to be more of that.
And mine, I think, started with writing down, because I used to suppress my thoughts that were shitty, because I'd be like, I can't even go there. Literally, I'd like watch my eyes like deter away from them in my brain. And then when I started to write things out loud, it was like, oh my God, these are real feelings. And this is like a really fucking scary place to be. Because none of us, we're all taught like to not necessarily air your dirty laundry, right? Like you keep that for home and you don't really talk about these things out loud. That's for your household. And I'm sure there's still a line there as well. But once you start to hear yourself from an observant or like voice notes or look at your thoughts from an observant point of view, it's a very eye-opening experience that everyone should go through that. You know, you don't need to get a therapist or have the answer, but like sometimes we don't know where we're at personally because we never go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you have any like mental health illnesses in your family, but like I have some too. So I think there's also a level of like, what can I do, even when it comes to health, like to prevent me getting to that place. And I've had some experiences in my past with just hormones being off, and like I went and sought some like hormone specialists because I like couldn't stop crying, for example. And Christian was dating me at this time, and I was like, I don't know what is wrong with me, but I'm meditating and I'm walking and I'm working out and I'm eating right and I'm sleeping. So yeah, I think we have to be open and vulnerable because I was like struggling during that time.
And imagine if you didn't.
Yeah, no,
you know?
like if I just held it in, I wouldn't have gotten any better. I needed to like just get a support system.
Absolutely.
And it helped, you know, and and it was a phase, right? There's ups and downs of life, but I think when you get to like a low phase, whatever that means for you, I think it's important to find people you can turn to.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked a lot about business. We talked a lot about you guys as individuals. We talked a lot about relationships, clearly. I have a couple of things that I want to touch on. First of all, these 2 points, I'll say them out loud so I don't forget them, right? Both of you, I would love for both of you, hopefully you don't say each other's answer because I usually do this with one person, but what do you think people overlook and what do you think that people underlook? That's number one. And then the other thing is I want you to tell my audience what they could find behind the wall of Durable Athlete. Like, what is it that you bring as your modality that they know what to expect when they get there? Okay. I think I know, but I don't want to botch it, you know?
Okay. You want to start that one?
Let's start with what do you think that people like overthink when it comes to fitness?
What do they overthink? I think honestly, like what it takes to be healthy. Like what it takes from a fitness perspective, like what is enough in the fitness realm to like promote your health in a positive manner.
Okay.
I think that would say that.
What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. Overthink, right?
Yeah, overthink.
I think, at least right now, since I'm working a lot with like on the nutrition and lifestyle thing, I think a lot of people overthink counting macros, which I think is a great tool, but that's not the only, kind of like Christian saying, like that's not, you don't have to do the most to be healthy.
Yeah.
Which leads to the second one, which is what they...
What do you think they like don't pay enough attention to?
Yes. For me, it's the foundations of like drinking water. Can't tell you how many people don't drink enough water, stay properly hydrated, get sunshine, or go for a morning walk, or like a daily walk of some sort, like getting steps, getting outside. Like very low intensity things, low hanging fruit, I think is what we tend to say people forget about. You know, like they want to jump to like the two-a-days and whatever diet is popular, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, we just need the basics.
Yeah, let's like reel it in. Don't need to be so extreme. What about you? What do you think people...
Yeah, that's tough. I was definitely going to speak to kind of like the pillars, right? Kind of just like your lifestyle habits, right? Things that are even just, not in the gym and not like about eating and your nutrition. Let's just look at like everything else. Like, are you being vulnerable with like your relationships? Are you being vulnerable with the people around you that will allow you or put you in the space to continue to like grow? Are you getting outside and just like giving yourself the mental space to just kind of either just reflect or just be as present as possible? You know what I mean?
I love that. I stole this from Jay Shetty. I don't know if you guys have read that book, but you should. It's Think Like a Monk. I think we just renamed it upstairs. It was just called like dishwashing meditation. Right? I have a dishwasher, but I don't want to use it because putting dishes in, well, I do use it. But sometimes every day I was home, now we're in the woods in a trailer, but I would purposely not put certain things in the dishwasher. I would make my ass stand still over the sink and wash dishes because everything that, especially if you own your own business, every thought is so big. Like all the thoughts are so major and they're so important. But really, like, I'm only able to operate on that level if I'm me. Like, where are my small thoughts? They haven't been around for years. Like, how am I feeling? Am I cool? What are the thoughts that I'm having while I'm washing dishes? It's sure as shit not going to be about like what content to put on the app. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, it might come from a resentful point of view. It might come from like a kind and compassionate point of view. It's like the small thoughts matter, but everything we do is so stimulating and so big that we forget about the small. And there won't be any big if we don't focus on the small, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Meditation while washing the dishes.
Yeah, and you get big
meditation.
I like that.
It really is small wins add up, and that's what I feel like we talk about a lot. To that point, it's mental, physical,
emotional, spiritual, all that type of stuff.
And I think that what people underlook is exactly what your business is, right? So let's talk about that, right? To end this and have people understand what's behind the wall.
Yeah.
If I signed up and got the Durable Athlete app right now, what could I find on the other side?
Yeah, I'll just kind of start with maybe like the first two things that you would find on there, and then maybe you can explain all the other playlists. So yeah, I mean, to try to keep it as, I guess, simple as possible, like after all the education, all the different movement styles and the cool people we've been able to work with, it's like, how can we deliver all of like that thoughts and aspects of like strength training and like the mobility training, right? So we have a daily mobility workout, and then we also have a daily fitness workout.
Cool.
Now, like our principle and I guess our lens of like how we view movement and how we think movement should be like prescribed with load or with body weight isn't the only way to do it, but it's just like our perspective. We have, everything, even the lifting stuff. Like for example, we have like 3 days a week are like body weight training, and then the other days throughout the week are sprinkled in with like kettlebell band and body weight, or sorry, kettlebell band and med ball and body weight. And so, our lens is always going to be, okay, we can push ourselves and get to an intense level, but we could also do it being very mindful of movement, which I'm sure you completely understand and completely get that. And then the daily mobility workout is just there. Again, every morning we have like a morning, mobility practice, and that's just something that we consistently like lean on. And so we wanted to have something to that light where people could access, whether it's morning, whether it's right before you go to work, whether it's like in the evening before you go to bed. We wanted to at least have some workout and some type of daily mobility practice that people can have.
I gotta get behind this app. I want to give it a go.
Yeah.
What else you got?
So within that, we also have, individual workouts, and we have follow along videos. So if someone wants like a full body follow along, whereas our daily mobility is kind of going to be like upper body, lower body, and then full body, and it's going to kind of rotate as you go through the month. And then we have like a breathwork session, which I've actually been utilizing this week, and I just started with like our private Facebook group, or the subscribers essentially that are in our Facebook group, a month of mindfulness, trying to really challenge them to use those videos on a daily basis at least once. And those are all like short. We have some longer ones, but they're like under 5 minutes.
Which is very
2 to 3 minutes.
And accessible. I like that.
And I love them. So the breath work is in there again for when people are feeling stressed, or I've been using mine after my workout to get into a state of rest and digest and go about the rest of my day and clear my head. So that's been nice. And then we have foam rolling techniques in there. We have a whole like recovery corner, things people can do on recovery days or low intensity days that are going to be a little more like a workout per se,
to
but
make you feel like you got to work out.
Definitely not high intensity. You're not going to feel taxed. You're going to feel better after. It's going to set you up for success the next day. And just again, most of it is on the recovery side of things. If you want to get better at moving your body and moving your joints through full range of motion and gaining strength through that range of motion, that's what's on our app. We do have 2 programs on there, a 4-week and a 6-week program. The 4-week program is again very like foundations, like if you're just starting out, or maybe you've taken a lot of time off, or you've never really done body weight exercises before, or you're coming back after some life event and you're like, okay, I really just want to ease into it. I would say start with that 4-week body weight program there.
Awesome. I saw a video that you had that I was like, oh man, everyone could help with this. Like working on ankle mobility, putting your body into places, like people say that they got tight hips and they just say that they have tight hips. Well, how can we get better at that? Like I like that you guys provide people with the tools that they can implement, and it's not expensive, you don't need to go get a contraption that's going to twist your arm to be here, there, and the other. It's like, no. Let's just like understand how we should do this, how we can increase range of motion, and how to, and you said it earlier, and I think it's really important that people understand, like animal flow, right? It forces people to push their body into end ranges, which a lot of traditional conventional lifts won't do. And really we can all lift, but like I'll never forget being able to do like a overhead press at ridiculous weight. Then I got on rings and like had this weird internal rotation in my shoulder. I'm like, what the fuck? I couldn't even hold half of my body weight, let alone. But I was like, how is that I'm able to hold that much weight up here, but it goes a little bit further and it's the same area. So the whole point is like strengthening your end ranges and having you be more aware of your body and stay in tune with it. So
I think a big piece too with like the fitness and like the movement aspect is, you know, a lot of people, and not to say it's bad, but there are so many other people out there that are great with like manipulating like external resistance. So like kettlebells, dumbbells, barbells, and it doesn't really matter, like whatever, you know, types of weights that people would want to use to challenge themselves. We feel like intrinsically, right? Like for me personally, like my kind of like horror story with John Wolfe is like, the stronger you are, right, with like relative weights and like, the bigger you would kind of get, right, the more density that you get from lifting, like that ends up like feeling and ends up like turning the muscles more what they would call like concentric, so more like shortened. So when you're working out and you're doing some of these movements, the challenging part is like the intrinsic tension that's in our body and not necessarily like the extrinsic and like our external environment, like a barbell or a weight pulling down on you. I found that after the fact that like that was the most frustrating part when I got done with it, but also the most rewarding because I think you just feel it right away, right? Even
hold a beast for 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's very, very, very life changing, I would say. So and fun at the same time. Yeah. Right, like enjoyable for sure.
Accessible being I think the biggest point for body weight, as well as like anyone can do it, and that's the biggest excuse, right? It's like I don't have the equipment, I can't afford to go to a gym. Like they're just really, really easy excuses to not move when you don't really need any machine. Yeah, all these tools help, and don't get me wrong, they're a great way of staying in the game, staying excited, getting stronger. But starting with body weight should be number one.
Yeah.
Yes.
From CrossFit, I remember my clean and jerk was like 195, but I couldn't do a real push-up.
It's crazy.
Doesn't fucking make sense.
Like, what's
couldn't do a
happening?
push-up. Literally could not do a push-up. Like that's wild. And that was also what became an obsessive. Like put down the barbell, put down the heavy shit. I went to kettlebells, but I had hurt myself at that point, right? Because I just kept on going. And I put it down, and I didn't lift over 100 pounds for almost a year. And then when I felt good and healthy, I came back. I was off my 1 rep max by maybe 5 pounds. Yeah. It's so eye-opening. People think that if you want to get stronger, you have to lift heavy ass weights all the time. And it's so wrong. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
I think our thing is also like, we want people to feel better. And when you feel better, you live a better life, right? Yeah. And so, that's one of our big things. It's like, in order to feel better, it's not always about going as hard as possible and lifting as much as possible. It's about literally doing things that leave you feeling better. So if you finish a mobility session and you're like, oh yeah, my body feels good, and now I can work out till I'm 100 or so and feel great. That's the goal. It's like looking at the big picture of health, and we don't. I don't know. It's like we don't need to shove everything into one day or 1 week. It's like, let's think big picture. Let's take care of our joints. Let's take care of our muscles. Let's take care of our mind, like so that we can continue to do this.
And when I want to give what your focus is a big, huge kudos, right? Because that was what helped me change. I had that back injury, like I was telling you, and everyone's like, well, how did you? Degenerated disc, like not a good place to be. They ain't coming back. And I used to not be able to touch my toes. I would have to put my pants on by laying on my bed. Like it was ridiculous, but that became the norm to me. And I remember sitting down, and the scariest thing that ever happened is I lost total sensation in my legs when I went to stand up. For like a good 10 to 15 seconds, I'm like, that's that then. Like, am I now paralyzed? Like I went to go stand up, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I remember at that point in my life being like, going to every doctor trying to find an answer, going to every orthopedic surgeon to try and get me the right surgery, trying to find like stem cell therapy in the black market, like trying to do everything to be an athlete, right? You know what I did? I just stopped lifting heavy weight. That's it. And that's when I got into animal flow. That's when I started to do body weight shit. That's when I started to understand like the importance of form. I look at videos and I'm like, oh, like where did that come from? That's so wrong. But that's some, ignorance, ego, and the wrong support system. So if I was at that stage in my life and had access to the durable athlete, man, what a game changer. So no matter who you are, no matter what you're trying to achieve, implementing what they do and what they focus on is, to me, an absolute no-brainer.
Appreciate
it. So thank you for what you do and for providing us with that, accessibility for all of those things. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's been great.
You're
Where
awesome.
can these guys find you? Tell them everything. How can they get a hold of you, follow you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On social media, on Instagram, I'm Natalie.Higby. And we have Durable Athlete also. You can say your name.
Yeah, mine would just be Christian G Placencia. So basically just like our straight name. Like
Christian with no H.
Yeah, Christian
Oh,
with
yeah.
no H.
You
yeah,
won't
yeah,
find
yeah.
him if you put
yeah,
the H in,
exactly. That's a
probably.
great
And we'll
call.
have everything in the show notes too.
For sure,
And then
for sure.
our website, durableathlete.com.
Yeah.
That's where you can also send us emails and reach out to us there. But I feel like we do spend a lot of time at least trying to post on Instagram on a daily basis and answer messages there. Am I missing one? You have a
No.
Twitter.
Yeah, to be honest, sometimes I even forget. I think it's like Coach Christian GP or something like
Okay.
that.
Send it to
Something
me. I'll
like
plug
that.
it in.
Yeah,
for
we'll
you.
plug it in. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys and your
Thank
time.
you so
Thank you,
much.
man.
We appreciate you.
Deuces.